Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Two Doomed Men podcast, the greatest, ready? The greatest podcast in the history of the country, perhaps even the world by far. I don't think anyone comes close.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Scagz and yours truly, the captain, and we have no guests today. It's just the two of us, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, bud?
I was looking back at the past episodes. It's not been just me and you for a month now. So it's
really
one month ago. Last time was just me and you. I was tempted to ask Garrett to come on today again because of the nature of some of the things that we're talking about are in his wheelhouse. But and I love Garrett. I'd have him on every episode. But I'm like, Captain, I haven't had a moment.
Didn't even notice it.
Yeah. In a month, I'm like, so let's just do it, just me and him.
Yeah.
So
we're housekeeping. We're winging it, boys and girls.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a couple things this week. Including a wild tweet from Donald Trump.
Yes.
And I don't even think you appreciate how wild the tweet was when you really look deep into it.
Yeah, it was. I'm at a point with politics.
So am I. I'm frustrated, and so we'll talk about that. I know, Cap, you kind of want to talk a little bit about the Ukrainian attack.
Yeah, the Russian Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. Palantir, which is a tech company, has kind of gotten a contract by the federal government, by Trump, and it's very controversial. A lot of people are discussing pros and cons, so we'll kind of try and hash a little bit of that out and show you guys kind of both sides of that argument. What else? Also, in the big beautiful bill, that fight still going on.
Yeah,
there's some.
We found something else, right?
We found us, and I mean we didn't find it, but a bunch of people found some language around regulating AI for the next 10 years. The federal government is going to have exclusivity in terms of they're the only ones who could regulate AI, which AI is very big, up and coming, powerful thing the next couple of years. So only the federal government, the United States, can regulate that. Not the states can't pass any laws regulating. So we'll chat about that later. Kind of wanted to plug a couple things that we got coming up. I also, right as we were doing the intro, I found this and I just started cracking up laughing. It is the beginning of Pride Month, and someone tweeted this and it says, "Cat protects family from LGBT."
And on that note, I actually took a screenshot for this because I knew Pride Month was going to come up. I would like to shout out the New York Jets, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Indianapolis Colts, the Tennessee Titans, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Dallas Cowgirls, Seattle Seahawks and the New Orleans Saints for not going woke and not celebrating Pride Month. Good for you guys for standing on your own 2 feet and not buying into this shit.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of our New York teams are gay as fuck. So,
yeah. Well, New York is a gay as fuck state, so.
All right. Also coming up on Saturday, I'm excited. Saturday is going to be fun. We've been plugging it. We are going to be right here in the shack in the back with a huge crew of mutants, and we are going to be doing a companion stream. So we'll be watching live WWE's Money in the Bank pay-per-view event. We're not going to be showing it to you because we get copyright kicked off of everything. We'll be watching it. You maybe hear a little bit of it in the background. We'll have a bunch of the guys here all doing commentary. We'll do a couple doomed reviews because it's going to be a long event. So open up your YouTube. If you're watching Money in the Bank, put us on in the background. You can be part of the
plenty of reactions to it.
Yeah, it's a good lineup, man. I like that.
Yeah.
I got back into wrestling at the right time.
And your boy. Well, I'm not too happy about the John Cena match being a tag team. Like, we got champion versus champion doing tag teams.
I kind of like it because it's merging the Cena, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Logan Paul, YouTuber. So it's like in our wheelhouse as well. I like that they're kind of merging the two belts storylines somehow together. We'll talk more about that on Friday. I don't want to shoot all my load right now on the wrestling, but I am excited for the match.
And your boy, Grande Americano,
he made it.
Pulled out the victory last night.
There he is, right there, El Grande Americano. He's going to be right. I mean, he's the ultimate wild card. And I don't think anybody has thought he was going to be in Money in the Bank. Now he is. Dude, that would be. Look, I love it. The whole storyline is a giant troll that's also related to like current events and politics and that sort of energy. That's
from
why
the Gulf of America.
That's why I kind of like it so much. I also like, obviously it's Chad Gable. Right, but I like the Clark Kent Superman aspect that Chad Gable's just useless. He can't do anything on his own, but when he becomes El Grande Americano, he's actually pretty competitive and starts winning. So it's
funny enough, Chad Gable is fighting earlier in the day against the AAA Luchador champion or whatever. So he might become a champion and the Money in the Bank winner. Almost.
I saw he tweeted something the other day that he's going to be lending his boots to El Grande Americano or something like that.
Well, that's because
funny.
The CG on his boots last night.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, man. Tune in on this Saturday, 7:00 Eastern time. We will be doing that. Also, the captain and I, we are working on our 300th episode extravaganza. The target date is Saturday, July 19th. Target date because we're on episode 293 right now. That means we got to do 7 numbered episodes up to that date. Obviously, we've done a lot of other shit besides numbered episodes, right? But I do think it's kind of cool when we get to a round number to celebrate. Also, I mean, we've been doing this shit now, Cap, for fucking 5 years. We ain't famous. We ain't made any money. And
nobody has liked, shared, and subscribed yet.
And we're still doing it. So at least we have some fun and we celebrate the fact that we are stubborn sons of bitches who are still doing this 5 years later. Yeah, so we'll be doing that. It'll be a fun party episode. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll see. Okay, without further ado, let's get into our first thing of the evening, which is a tweet shared by Donald Trump over the weekend. So I'm sorry, it's not a tweet, it's a Truth Social post. And it's a repost. So it just says there is no Joe Biden executed in 2020. Click on the actual post itself. Can you did it make it go away? Sorry.
No. Yeah. Now it's gone.
All right. Yeah, I hate Truth Social. It opens up another window when you click into it.
There you go.
So, I don't know. This post is from some random anon account. Again, the president of the United States is reposting this context. It's a random anon account. And the guy says, there is no Joe Biden executed in 2020. Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Democrats don't know the difference. There are a lot of hashtags in here. Some of them are pretty crazy and interesting. Jewish is in there. Latinos, like all sorts of identities are in there. Christianity, Black for MAGA. Like there's a lot in here. But the most interesting thing I found when you scroll all the way down to the bottom is that this is even a quote post in of itself.
Mhm.
And who is it quote posting? It's quote
Q.
posting Q. Yes, and it says, and it's a Q account quote posting a Babylon Bee article saying Biden family worried they may be running out of time to exploit Joe Biden's health. All right, so maybe you think this is dumb. It's pointless. This is coming from the president of the United States sharing a QAnon post saying that Joe Biden was executed in 2020 and he has clones. This is your area of expertise, Captain, not mine.
Yeah.
What do you think this was?
I mean, I hope it's true. I ain't gonna lie. I hope it's true. I would completely buy it. Pretty factual throughout Biden's presidency. We saw a lot of different Joes, right? Attached earlobe, detached earlobe. Sometimes he could talk, sometimes he couldn't. Sometimes he was in the Oval Office, sometimes he was in front of a green screen, sometimes he was in a studio. There's a lot of interesting, things. And that's kind of like, lost on us a bit because we don't even think about that because that was like January of 2020 or whatever, when we were like, he's in a studio, he's not even in the White House, and it was such a weird time. I don't know. A part of me, I was listening to a few podcasts today, and somebody was like, can the president just be silly and goof around like he's hanging out with his boys like we would, right? Imagine if we had the reach Donald Trump had, right? And he's sitting there and he's throwing back a bourbon or two. I know he doesn't drink. He's a little stoned, and all the boys are effing around. He goes, you want to see me make the media go crazy? And then he just posts something like this, and now it's national headline insanity news. He loves trolling and playing the media, and they buy it every single time. So a part of me is like, can the guy just be silly? Like maybe he is just pulling everybody's leg, but like politics has gotten so crazy, and like we've been so like even like now that Trump's in office and like we thought we could breathe this sigh of relief, like none of us are really happy. If anything, we're more blackpilled than we've ever been. So like maybe he is telling the truth, right? Like I always found out like if the truth is so crazy that like you could just tell it and nobody will believe you.
It.
Like, like every dude, every jerk off dude's had this same exact, argument with their girlfriend. Oh, you made out with her? No. And then the dude's finally like, yeah, you know what? I did make out with her. And like she storms off and she doesn't believe you, whatever. But you told the truth because you did make out with her. She just doesn't want to believe it, right? So like, is this the situation? It's, oh man, Q shit hasn't been around for so long, dude.
I mean,
like
it is. It's still around in the background. What I find fun, I agree with everything you just said there. What I find interesting about the whole thing is that people like me and you, like I'd probably lean toward it's him messing around, trolling, perhaps even throwing a bit of distraction out there, giving some negative press, give something to chat about. I'd agree, and probably a lot of us normal, sane folk would agree it's him just trolling. But the Q people are going to see this and be like, it's proof. It's confirmation. It's tippity top shape all over again, right? So, and these are all people kind of on the same side.
Yeah.
You see how we both even could kind of view reality almost through two different complete lenses / universe.
Well, that's because the problem is like we looked behind the curtain, and man, like the idea of clones, it seems very legit to me.
I mean, like it's not even. I don't know. We also got our episode a couple of years ago pulled off of YouTube, Damar Hamlin clone, where we never even said we thought he actually was a clone. So I guess we're.
Oh, is that that was the guy who dropped on the football player? Yeah.
And so I mean, I guess we're kind of treading in dangerous waters here.
Yeah, I know.
But there are questions, man, about Joe Biden. I mean, like right now at the moment too, there is a whole like Jake Tapper's out there apologizing and trying to retcon what the corporate press knew and did or whatever. There's also just shit like this, and wokeness post this the other day. That this, like, I mean,
let's pick the date, Star. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Like the
His eyes are different. His ears are different. The wrinkles on his forehead are different.
What is that? Right.
And if you see the old man that we're looking at right now, go bring up a picture of Joe Biden being, when he was with Obama as the VP back in like 06 or 07.
He looks like
it's yet again another completely different person.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's also not the president anymore.
Yeah.
What more does it really matter? I think it really matters.
I think the auto pen matters more than if he's a clone or not. Right. But
the auto pen, the idea that he wasn't, actually there signing any of the things that he signed. It was
who did David Hogg drop the dime on? Jill
Biden's chief of staff.
Chief of staff,
I forget his name. Right, that he was really like one of the behind the scenes powers in the White House. There's a lot of that coming out now, and the corporate press is trying to, like say, oh, we didn't know, they weren't honest with us. Meanwhile, the rest of us, that's the most interesting point about it, right? The rest of us, those 4 years, were literally looking at this guy be a shell of himself. Like, he's not there. Something's wrong. He's got dementia. He's retarded. He's a puppet.
This is
right? And they're over there, and when the corporate press, they were the people laundering the idea that no, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're crazy. He's sharp as a tack. Cheap fakes. All those things over the years, right? That they said that it was us. Now they like one of their biggest guys is out there at the same time. This is all coming out, trying to be like, well, they lied to us and whatnot.
Yeah,
as that's if why. No,
that's why Jake Tapper is just on. He's having the worst time of his life right now, and he deserves it. People don't hate the media enough.
They don't.
At the end of the day, they don't. Right. And the crazy thing is, the media still can't read the room. They still can't pivot. They still can't moderate. I mean, I just listened to a few of the podcasts I listened to last week. There's still people going on interviews on CNN furious that we wouldn't listen to the experts. Why? The health experts were wrong. The CDC, the WHO, Fauci, they were wrong about everything during COVID. Yet here we are 5 years later, and you still want us to trust the experts.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Read the room. Figure it out by now.
I think some of that is them still feeding red meat to their base of NPCs, like to keep them happy, keep them, and then I think what Jake Tapper's doing is an attempt at pivoting, but not too much, right? Like, so there was some of their base who did see kind of what was going on with Biden and were like, I don't know, something's wrong here, but I'm still a Democrat. I'm still riding with Biden and whatever. And now they're a little bit skeptical of the corporate press, but not to the level that me and you are. We understand exactly what they are. Right. So like there's an op in motion to try and like retain those people, right? That like just like they got hit in the head with one drop of water. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? And now they're like, whoa, hang on. We got to pivot just a little bit to try and be like, you see, like actually we were lied to. Still listen to us though, because we were lied to. As if they weren't there, literally laundering,
running cover for them.
For the administration. I don't think Biden was a clone. I'll be honest with you. I think perhaps they did use AI and body double type things here and there and pump them full of.
Oh, so you're down with the Android idea then?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
there's apparently a video out there,
like a robot, but like dude, we just put on our TikTok the AI alive thing.
Yeah, which is cool as fuck.
Makes our cartoon images come alive and start talking to each other. That's like the last, that's like the bullshit stuff that they're putting. Yeah. Imagine what the White House has in terms of like creating real AI.
And think of like military R&D research that we sink billions and trillions of dollars into.
Oh yeah.
They have continuously been ahead of us by decades for years. Like back when, like I really believe like back when like the CIA was killing JFK, they had iPhones, but only like the CIA had them. Right. You know what I mean? Like
something similarly level. Yeah. Right. And I could see them using shit like that too. Right. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, actually, when Trump was still president, and there was like the gas attack by Assad on his own people. And there was like videos of like people dying from poisonous gas. And then a lot of people were looking at this and were like, this seems staged and not real. And then after that, Trump responded and like launched an attack against Syria and whatever. Then it turned out later that was actually fake. It was a completely staged thing, you know, etc. With like some of this new AI stuff, I mean, they could do something like that, and it just, hey, AI, make a fake attack by Hamas on somebody, right? And then
Hamas and the aliens team.
Yes. I don't know. Like, I'm all the way over here. I'm not over there. I don't know exactly what happened, right? I can only go to my sources that I trust to try and parse it out. But then, are they there, right? Like, the whole waters get muddied. Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about AI later. So that's my take. I don't know. Any other thoughts on that, Cap, the clone thing?
It's crazy. That was a crazy truth drop, man. That really, for him to like, because like the whole Q thing's like not even in like the media really anymore. Like when he first got into office and like Q came out in 2017, like this was like the biggest terrorist organization you could possibly imagine. And now here we are, like just shy of a decade later, and he's popping this stuff up.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I also thought, I saw some people make this point, and I'm like, yeah, that could be it too. I thought perhaps it could be a little bit of a co-op mechanism thing, which we'll get into maybe 2 topics after this. But Palantir, Trump is taking a lot of heat. Trump is taking a lot of heat for things.
Also,
right? We're not the only ones that are being honest, right?
A lot of people are upset with
the Palantir thing is a very like kryptonite sort of issue. They've not really like the administration and any of like the talking heads have not really commented on it, you know. So like a lot of the base is upset about this. Here's some red meat, base. You know, to my diehard followers, clone Joe Biden clone. Maybe that's an aspect of it too. He's trying to distract or, you know.
Well, there was that one.
The base. He's losing a little bit of momentum.
There was that one tweet that Trump put out about Joe Biden that he wasn't himself and that he used to be. You know, like a statesman or something back in the 70s.
I mean, that's true.
And the Joe Biden that he knew would never allow the country to be flooded with illegals or whatever. Remember that tweet? It was like a week or two ago.
That's true. I mean, Joe Biden, when he was a young man, was at least coherent, you know. He did a lot of evil shit, but he was at least coherent. He definitely was a different man. Okay, next topic. You want to do Ukraine?
Yeah, let's get into that, which is a bit crazy. So this happened, yesterday, right? The time difference has got me all
Sunday.
So it happened them on Sunday, and it was Saturday here.
It was probably Sunday during the day here, early morning, late night here.
So anyway, apparently for a year and 8 months, like 18 months or something, Ukraine has been planning this. And they had a drone attack on a Russian military base, and they destroyed something like 40 planes that have the capability of dropping nuclear weapons. Correct?
Yeah. So again, I don't want the captain to sell you short here. They attacked a base in Siberia, which is like 2,000 miles away from Ukraine. So imagine Ukraine traveled the entire distance of the United States from coast to coast to pull off this attack in Siberia on nuclear bomber planes. That were just out on the tarmac in Siberia.
And right away, you know, Zelensky starts, you know, gloating publicly that he got the upper hand on Putin and all this nonsense. And I'm 90% sure that I said this last week when we were talking to Professor Giordano that, you know, Trump came in saying he was going to, make a peace deal on day one and end this war, which in hindsight, that's a lot of Trump talk. Do I believe that he could have? Yes, but I'm pretty sure what my quote was, and this is what I believe still anyway, was like, there's so many saboteurs out there, you know, the EU, NATO, rogue elements of our own intelligence committees, rogue elements of our own military. Remember right at the end of Trump's last term, we found out that generals were just going over Trump's head and lying to him and stuff like that.
Troop levels and things like
that. Yeah. I genuinely believe that is still a huge problem. There is so much money to be made, and there was so much money laundered in Ukraine. And, you know, the war hawks need another never-ending war. And they're hedging their bets, whether it could be Ukraine or Israel or Iran. and things of that nature. And I just felt like these peace talks keep coming and going, and there's problems, and Putin doesn't show up, and this and that. I just think there's so many saboteurs that's what emboldened Zelensky to think that he can do this, right? Because I don't think Trump like secretly gave him the order. I don't think Trump is very happy that Zelensky did something like this, because weren't they just in Istanbul, like having peace talks?
Supposed to have, well, not Trump, but like emissaries were supposed to be having some talks.
And we get to this close, we've been so close to these peace talks every time, and now something like this happens, and now Putin's gonna retaliate. And then when Putin retaliates, the media goes, look, the Russia man is bad. And then everybody who hates Trump goes, oh, Trump can't end the war. He didn't keep his promise. He's the worst president ever. Look, there's a war under the Trump administration. He's not the American hero he's made out to be. And I just feel like I think like NATO emboldened Zelensky to think that he has the backing to do something like this.
I think they had something to do with it, probably too. Yeah.
Yes, because there's no way he could do it on his own. He definitely used whatever money America or Germany, Germany, I think gave them the most.
Even in terms of like logistics planning, first of all, you have to know where the bombers are. That requires satellite imagery. I'm not sure what Ukraine's capabilities are in terms of their space program and satellite imaging and things like that. Now, I do think the Ukrainian undercover soldiers snuck their way into Siberia.
Yeah, the spies are very
with a bunch of drones, launched them, pulled off the attack, right? But I do think that there's probably at least NATO European backing, logistics help behind the whole mission, right? I will say also what I find and why I think that is on top of that is like the target selection to me is odd. I try and think of things very practically in terms of incentives for people. Countries respond to incentives. Russia is not using nuclear bombers on Ukraine.
Right.
They're just not, right? They're not nuking Ukraine or anything like that. They're not weapons that are being used against Ukraine. So Ukraine is sending their assets completely out of position to a region far away, a risky mission, to attack weapons that aren't being used to attack them. It's a bit odd of a target selection.
Yeah.
Who's interested perhaps in those weapons being targeted? NATO is, right? Of course, if you're in a war, in a sense, in a Cold War or a proxy war with Russia, the nuclear bombers would be used against Europe and the United States. More so Europe, I'd say. A little bit more of an intermediate range. They'd be launching the big ICBMs at us.
We got to get on the Golden Dome, baby.
Right. So it is kind of in Europe's interest to damage some of that equipment. I don't see how it was in Ukraine's short-term X's and O's of the war, them winning the war. It really does.
You're right. Because think of it, this happened in Siberia. They're fighting over the Donbass region, right? Like,
and again,
the whole peace. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the whole peace talks that keeps going awry is like Russia's like, no, we conquered this land; it's now ours. Ukraine's like, no, then we're going to keep fighting until we get the land back. So what do? You go all the way over to Siberia and fuck up one base?
Yeah, it has more value maybe to just sabotage any possible peace deals than it does like any X's and O's tactical for Ukraine.
That's why the name of the game is sabotage here.
I also, again, put yourselves in Vladimir Putin's shoes regarding everything you said before and in terms of like possible peace talks and paranoia and things like that with Vladimir Putin. How many, Captain, me and you have a lot of criticisms and questions about Donald Trump's, like how real he is and his authenticity in terms of like draining the swamp and fighting back against the United States federal government, deep state. Donald Trump is selling himself to Vladimir Putin as like, no, I'm different. I'm going to, extend my hand and we're going to make peace. And I mean, if me and you have questions about Donald Trump's authenticity, don't you think Vladimir Putin does?
Yeah.
Don't you think Vladimir Putin's probably in the back of his mind right now and be like, these guys have been pulling my chain the past 3 months saying, we're going to try and work out some sort of peace. Were they like,
behind this? Were they involved?
No, not even that. Were they like trying to distract me to think that they're not going to pull off that Ukraine's not going to pull off some sort of attack like this.
Mhm.
Did Trump know anything about this? He did sign the mineral deal with Ukraine, which in a way kind of guarantees our defense of Ukraine for the assets. If Russia invades Ukraine and takes the rare earth minerals, then we don't get them. So obviously, in a way, that's kind of like us guaranteeing Ukraine some defense or some weird form of like deterrence, right? This is major, dude. I told you before, I was talking to my father-in-law about this before, and he's like, what do you think's going to happen? I was like, before I thought that they actually would negotiate a peace. I got to be honest with you. I don't know.
Not now.
I think now, like, this not only is an attack against equipment, and equipment was damaged. Russia still has
a slap in the face.
Russia still has nuclear deterrent. That's not. But I do think that, like, now whatever trust was beginning to kind of be rebuilt has now possibly been completely undermined. And from their point of view, I don't know. I really don't. It's kind of and bill. It's worrying.
Yeah, and obviously Putin is going to want to clap back, right? I'm pretty sure he said if they kept describing it as Russia's Pearl Harbor, and then they kind of described it as like, well, we're going to respond the way America responded to Japan.
So some officials were saying things like that. I think when they also like, and I don't know if I'm exactly correct here, but like I think when they redid their nuclear doctrine a few months ago, I think they included like attacks on nuclear facilities and equipment could be met in return with nuclear response.
Yeah.
So I still don't think they're just going to go and use a nuke. I do think that would still
Ukraine
be so
is
extreme.
So close to
but
them.
They are threatening that in a kind of tongue-in-cheek, I don't know, sort of way. So that they were doing that a lot towards the beginning of the war. Then that kind of stopped lately, which is good. It's never good when nuclear superpowers are threatening to nuke the shit out of each other.
Well, because we really had Putin backed in a corner. Remember all the sanctions and
now we're back just to nuclear threats again. Yeah. Not good.
And for all of our criticisms about Trump, I really don't think he had anything to do with this. I think he woke up I'm sure the intel, that's why I'm saying like rogue elements of our intel agency probably kept it from him. They knew it was going to happen.
To fund the deep state with the one big beautiful bill. I'm questioning if he's real or not, or this was all I was telling my father before. I'm like, I don't know, man. Remember when Obama ran for president and he was running on change? I'm going to change anything. I'm going to end the wars. I'm going to close Guantanamo Bay. And a lot of people were like, wow, yes, we want change. And then he ended up expanding everything and making it the worst form of that. I don't know. I remember that, right? Is this the same thing, just dressed up in like this new swagger of MAGA and all this shit?
Yeah,
I don't know. Are we going to look back at Trump as like another sort of Obama figure?
Yeah, this is part of the black pilling that's been taking place.
Sell it to you. Like, I think I tweeted this the other day. I'm like, is he trying to sell you reform? Like, he's trying to launder the status quo by selling you that he's a reformist. Right? Like, that's exactly what Obama did. I'm going to change everything. Then he gets in and he literally continues the status quo and makes it worse. Like, not only did he not close Guantanamo Bay, right, but like they launched the NSA spying program, and they launched a surge of troops in Iraq when he said he was going to end the wars, or in Afghanistan, etc. So like, Vladimir Putin's probably thinking that way. Like, do I actually have a good faith partner here, or are they using this whole like MAGA vibe to cloak the deep state American establishment to trick people, including me?
So let's remove the black pill. Okay. Put it over here for a second.
Folks. Yeah.
What would you personally like to see Trump's response be?
Go meet with Vladimir Putin immediately, directly in person.
Yeah. I would also cut not a dime of funding. I would even be pulling our own military out of Poland. You know what I mean? Like, because we know we have American troops in Poland. Yeah. It's not a secret. I would fully pull back any surrounding military, even if we have anybody in the Black Sea or it's the Black Sea over there, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We definitely have assets floating.
I would pull back, halt any type of funding that is going to Ukraine. I would have NATO on notice, and like you said, go see Putin himself.
Well, that would take like brass balls, right? That's like standing up to the war machine and giving them in the sense. What you're saying is like to kind of give a stand down pullback order. That takes a lot of balls,
Yeah.
right? I don't think that's coming, buddy. I just don't. I mean, we just had Professor.
Well, that's why I
Giordano.
said let's remove the black pill.
We just had Professor Giordano on last week, who we love and tells the truth about things, and his answer was to like escalate, or at least to escalate rhetoric, which kind of took me back a little bit.
Well, to be tough with them, no, it is a tactic. I get it. I just don't know. Now, I don't think that's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. In the face of escalating tensions, I don't know.
Yeah.
Escalating further is always, like we seem to have only had escalation. Can we try perhaps de-escalation?
That's
right?
that's where the sabotage comes in. I don't think it's possible.
Concerning, man. Something to keep
so
an eye on.
my final rant on this Russian Pearl Harbor thing, though, is for any of you GD boomers listening out there, if you start supporting Ukraine, I'm going to start swinging. I swear to God, I'm going to start. I can't even say it on YouTube because
metaphorically, he's going to start metaphorically.
Yes, I'm going to start metaphorically spanking you boomers because you have to pull back. Don't change all of your morals and your viewpoints all because Daddy Trump is now in office. For 4.5 years, you despised the idea of funding Ukraine and did not want a war with Russia and Ukraine. But now, because Trump's in office, if you're going to start supporting Ukraine, you're a goddamn fake. You're a loser, and you're no better than half of the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Again, I was having a conversation with my father-in-law, who is a boomer. I love him.
Yeah. But, I love your father-in-law too.
He made the point to me. He's like, I don't know, man. Maybe Ukraine actually can win the war. I'm like,
and has.
I'm like, you guys can't be that naive.
I got to call my father and be like, what do you think, Mr. Boomer? Like,
News,
just
right. Yeah, Ukraine's going to win the war. Yeah, the only way Ukraine's going to win the war is if we go in and Europe goes in, right? Full tilt. That's the only way they're going to. Is that what you're, like, did you forget that? Boomer,
World War III is how Ukraine wins this war.
Yeah, I pointed him in the direction of Scott Horton's debate with General Wesley Clark, who was the former Supreme Chief of NATO, and I recommend everybody go watch Scott Horton debate the literal former head of NATO, 5-star General Wesley Clark. And they were talking about this, and they were talking about can Ukraine win the war, and General Clark was trying to say that they can. This was on a Piers Morgan show, and it's Scott Horton, so he knows literally everything. Yeah. So Scott Horton starts reading the laundry list of information that General Clark also knows on the show about, the XYZ of why Ukraine can't win the war. And General Clark's response to that was, Scott, I'm paraphrasing, basically saying, Scott's right. We shouldn't be saying this out loud, though, because then the Russians are going to hear it and they're going to know that Ukraine can't win the war. That was
Russia already knows that. Give me a break.
I'm just saying, that was the answer. So, if you watch that happen in real time, the former head of NATO, 5-star general guy, everyone tends to know. Maybe not everybody, right? But that's kind of shocking to boomers, right? That's a boomer right there, in a sense, admitting we can't admit the truth out loud because then our enemies might hear it and they might know that we're lying, right? Jeez. Okay. Next topic, Palantir.
Yeah, so now I'm going to get an education, just like you all are.
Besides sounding cool as fuck, because it is a Lord of the Rings reference, the Palantir, if you're a Lord of the Rings nerd like me, the Palantir is the shiny ball that Saruman had that he could communicate with Sauron.
Oh, an evil tool, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Peter Thiel, I think, is also a Lord of the Rings fan, and he names a lot of the shit he comes up with as Lord of the Ring things. The Palantir, it's not by default in the Lord, getting real in the weeds here, not by default an evil tool within the Lord of the Rings world. It is, in a sense, a FaceTime, right? Like a magic FaceTime. It's a ball. You could see someone who has another ball on the other side, and you can see through each other. Just so happened that by the time the Lord of the Rings movie came around, it was evil people who had Palantirs. But nonetheless, they, in theory, yes, they are kind of a weapon of evil. So Trump is giving a contract, about data, Americans' data to Palantir. So again, not experts in this, Captain or I neither. So I thought we'd start off with what is Palantir. I have an article here from Mashable, which I thought kind of encapsulated where we're coming from. Keep in mind, of course, everyone, like biases of media articles and whatnot. I'm going to try and play two biases against you after this next. So what is Palantir? Secretive tech company behind Trump's data collection efforts. The Trump administration reportedly wants a master database on every American, and they want Palantir to make it happen. Okay, so by default, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't like the idea of concept level. I don't think the idea of the federal government having a master database on every American is a good idea. I've heard right-wing MAGA arguments over why it is a good idea. That's why I guess I'm not.
Let's just run this down real quick, though. The Patriot Act, that didn't work out too well, right? And that was what? Massive data on what foreign terrorists
giving power to the federal government.
Yeah,
that we're not.
Now we have this where they're building another massive database on American citizens, and then we can't regulate AI. And what does AI need to succeed? A massive database.
We'll get to that one thing at a time here, Captain. So last Friday, the New York Times published an explosive report on the Trump administration's work with Palantir. Again, it's the New York Times who kind of led the charge on this, so you should justifiably be skeptical of kind of like the framing of this is bad. However, this is one of those weird scenarios where like I kind of agree in principle with some of the criticisms. However, the people making the criticisms I can't fucking stand, like the New York Times, right? So, which could result in the creation of a master database with information on every single American. Per the Times, if this type of master list was created, it would give the president untold surveillance power. President Donald Trump signed an executive order earlier this year enabling the federal government to share data on Americans across U.S. agencies. However, we now know more about how the administration intends to do it. Trump has tapped the tech firm Palantir, co-founded by Trump and Republican mega donor Peter Thiel, to carry out these efforts. The New York Times reported that Palantir's technology would make it possible to compile sensitive information from agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, and the IRS. Various government databases already include information on Americans' bank account numbers, medical claims, disabilities, student blah, 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 blah. What is Palantir? Over the past few years, Palantir has become a leading data analytics company. While Palantir does provide its services to corporate clients, the company's most prominent and controversial work has been for the federal government, specifically for the U.S. military and intelligence agencies, as well as governments around the world. Palantir was founded in the early 2000s by right-wing billionaire Peter Thiel, along with venture capitalists, entrepreneurs. Thiel chose the name Palantir after crystal balls using tokens Lord of the Rings. Why is Palantir so controversial? Palantir presents itself as a data and analytics company, but it also has a reputation for being highly secretive about its data mining and surveillance work. Palantir has also been criticized for providing intelligence services to aid the Israeli military in the Israel-Hamas war of 2023.
There it is.
CEO Karp has previously confirmed that Palantir provides intelligence services to the IDF. In response, Palantir has defended its work with Israel and has denied accusation of aiding war crimes, as its fiercest critics allege. Palantir has also been tapped in the ICE network to track immigrants in the U.S. as part of Trump's highly controversial policing and deportation efforts. Why did Trump tap Palantir? Palantir has already been contracted by the federal government for years now. For example, Palantir previously worked with the HHS to help track the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is not tracking well. We got Israel, war crimes, and the COVID pandemic.
However, since Trump inauguration, Palantir's revenue and stock have skyrocketed. I was kicking myself. I was like, God damn it. I should have bought Palantir stock, because if we're going to be taken over by evil monsters, I better at least profit from it while I can. So I could then use that money to go build the compound that we're going to fight back against them and survive against them. And,
well, now we just needed to buy an island because there's nowhere safe anymore.
Yeah. So in addition, the Palantirs received more than $113 million from the federal government. In 2025. In addition to that, the Department of Defense just awarded Palantir the $795 million contract last week. According, the company made $1.2 billion in revenue from the U.S. government, so not small pennies. Okay, so I mean that was kind of like your layman's term. What is Palantir? A little bit of why it's bad. let's go down the fucking rabbit hole now, right? And we're going to go to our negative spin on Palantir. And I'm going to Whitney Webb, independent journalist, has covered the Epstein stuff ad nauseum excellently, has covered the Bill Barr stuff. So what I'm trying to say is Whitney Webb is pretty good. She's like in our world sort of person. Now, this is a tweet from back in January, not from right now when this news is breaking, but back in January, Whitney Webb has been talking about Palantir and warning us about Peter Thiel and what he's been doing anyway. So she says, Palantir is not just a military contractor. It was a company created to privatize and house the Bush-era neocon-run surveillance program, Total Information Awareness Program, housed previously at DARPA, and put it under increased CIA control through the CIA, who was intimately involved with TIA.
Now we got the CIA involved.
Yes. TIA was shut down by Congress because it would have eradicated the constitutional right to privacy, but Palantir has accomplished that and gotten away with it because it's a private sector entity. Palantir's earliest funders besides Peter Thiel, the CIA, Palantir's first clients for its first several years as a company, the CIA. Where did Palantir engineers every 2 weeks for years? Where did Palantir engineers every 2 weeks for years go for guidance in developing their products? CIA headquarters. Palantir's originally intended clients, per CEO Alex Karp, the CIA. If there ever was a CIA front company, it's Palantir, though Peter Thiel has since quipped that the CIA is a front for Palantir. So that's what Peter Thiel is saying, that we're a front for the CIA, not that the CIA is using us as a front for them. So that's kind of the negative.
That's a big negative. That's a big negative.
Yeah, I am kind of asking you to trust Whitney Webb's work. You could go and read it. She's written a lot more besides just this one tweet. She's written articles about this stuff, giving you a little bit more detail if you want to see that. But that's kind of like the concern a lot of us have. It's like, oh, we're going to empower the federal government with a like a technology company that's worked with intelligence agencies in the past, has been working with them, worked, with the military to collect and store and make it easier for the federal government to access all our data. The cope answer that would come from someone like Garrett was like, well, they got all our information anyway, so what's the difference at this point?
That's why I'm learning this with all of Doom Nation as you were explaining this stuff. I am on Garrett's side with this because it is a catch-22. They already have so much of our information. What more can they really? How much more information can they take about us? But now when, they're like, oh, it worked, to track the COVID pandemic and the CIA and Israel is involved. This is bad. It's bad. It's not good.
They don't sound like, I don't know, the organization.
This ain't the lollipop guild.
Like altruistic, operators. Like they're just out there for like the best, like the best intentions of. But now, of people, we the people, or something like that.
What's the end result of having all this data?
I mean, data is everything, dude. It's all the information on how, like, human society, what we think, how to predict us, how to control us. It's everything. I kind of view it, the danger that I really view, even if you want to say that, now again, we'll get into Alex Jones here, who's going to be our counterpoint, interestingly enough. Even if you want to say Trump is using this for good, he wants to make data sharing between the agencies more efficient so he can make the government a little bit more efficient, and maybe they could do
impossible
Trump things. But that's going to be turned over to Democrats in the future.
Yeah, that's my next step. Like, okay, let's just say Trump is the good guy. Trump is the hero. Fine. We're not draining the swamp. We're still expanding the government. Yeah.
To use a Lord of the Rings analogy, it's like we're going to take the ring and we're going to use it against the enemies of Gondor, except we're going to give the ring an upgrade, right? And that will make us be able to fight Sauron even more. No, it's not. Sauron is going to, use the power of the ring through you, and he's going to have an even more powerful ring.
Yeah.
Now,
Because
on top of that,
once Trump's out of office, you think like AOC or Gavin Newsom.
Imagine President AOC wielding this thing.
Yeah, she's not going to. Yeah, it's not going to be used in a favorable measure. Most likely, it's going to be used to figure out who is a right-wing extremist by their definition, and predictive AI would be, oh well, they're terrorists, so let's go get them.
I remember a few years ago, AOC was had that tweet about how we need to start making lists of people who support Trump and MAGA. I mean, holy shit! Give AOC, someone who's talked about making lists of my political enemies before, give her this power, right? She's going to make lists.
What about that Crockett woman who, Crockett and E.M. Omar, where white men need to be tracked and monitored?
Yes, right. I mean, yeah, to give them the power to do that. Okay, so again, Captain and I are not experts on this, so I thought we would go to the experts in conspiracy theories. And again, presenting the counter argument here, which I thought was fascinating in of itself. If anybody was going to be critical of Palantir, I'd have assumed it was going to be Alex fucking Jones.
Yeah.
Right. However, it turns out
on that one.
Right. So would have I. Right. But turns out, no, actually, he's presenting kind of the counter argument. It's 3 minutes. I thought, I don't often play Alex Jones on the show, but I thought it was worth listening to what he had to say about this. It's actually not 3 minutes. It's like 2 minutes.
Everybody's asking me about Palantir. And when you look at it and you understand it, Palantir and the surveillance systems and the AI and all of it has been an outlier from the bigger companies. And it's been wanting to get big contracts. And Trump wants to use it to track illegal aliens and stuff. And the real ID that they're trying to bring in that's terrible, that never got implemented because it's unconstitutional. So I've been critical of all of that. And I obviously don't trust Palantir and the rest of the stuff it's doing. But it is small compared to all the other big AI and the Pentagon Sentinel and all the rest of it. The reason you're seeing the attacks on it everywhere is because it's trying to get contracts that other big tech companies already have, and because Palantir has been supportive of Trump. And so, yeah, Trump is going to them because they've been supporters. But all this hype about Palantir, all of these systems can be used for control. All these systems are out of control. All the AIs are woke. So Palantir is being used to run AI drones, killing people in Gaza. All of it's very concerning. But why do people know about Palantir and nothing else? Well, that's because it comes from the left, only focusing on Palantir, because it's seen as something being brought in to surveil the government itself and to try to find waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what Trump wants it for. Trump admin tasked Palantir with expanding U.S. surveillance state. And the New York Times and all of them are all over it. Palantir's deepening government ties sparked fears of centralized surveillance. And you've got the owner of it, the CEO of it, with all his statements about crushing the right wing in Europe and all the rest of it. I got serious concerns. It's just that endless hyping about it and only focusing on it is coming out of the left, and the populist anti-globalist movement has taken it absolutely hook, line, and sinker.
Okay, so Alex Jones is saying that
he did make a good point, if I could interject.
Sure.
That all these other AI systems and these surveillance systems and these databases can all do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, I'm kind of on Garrett's side of like, they already have all the information. You know what I mean? Like, as I sent that meme the other day, Judgment Day is inevitable.
Yeah, the Terminator. I think what Alex Jones is trying to say is that, like, now I did say, like, take it with a grain of salt, beware of who you're reading it from. The New York Times leading the charge kind of on this thing. It is some information in of itself, which I don't think we should just throw away. But that doesn't always mean that the thing itself isn't bad. Like a broken clock is right twice a day, right? But I think what Alex Jones is trying to say is, like, this is projection. The companies that are doing this are projecting through the corporate press all the bad things that they do onto Palantir, who is also probably going to do these bad things as well. However, it's being wielded by Trump. And
Trump could use it to gather data on them, You know, somebody had mentioned that this could be like what they use for like the giant like RICO case against the deep state.
Know.
Yeah,
I do think it is just an out in the open admission of everyone is doing really
something
evil,
bad,
insane shit with AI and these tech companies. None of them are using this, like I said, for altruism or anything like that before. So yeah, it is very concerning, and I do think that we should keep an eye on it. We've been hoodwinked so many times over the past years of like, well, we have to do this thing now because this fights the bad guys. And yes,
the Patriot Act,
right?
The Patriot Act.
I have not.
How can you not vote for the Patriot Act? Are you not a patriot?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And at the time, the Patriot Act was sold as we need to do this to stop the bad guys who were the terrorists. Right. And, at the time,
and now me and you are the bad guys. We were in the 7th grade when the Patriot Act came out, and now me and you are the bad guys.
Yeah.
That the Patriot Act is concerned about. So
terrorists now. All right. I guess that could bring us into. So just remain skeptical here, folks. That could bring us into our last point. Which we're going to go back to some criticism of the big, beautiful bill. Rightly so. So
this is the big, ugly bill.
Yeah. Disclosed TV posted this the other day and said Trump's big, beautiful bill bans all 50 states from regulating AI for 10 years, centralizes control at the federal level, and integrates AI systems into key federal agencies. Here is the text of the bill. I had even a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier today, and she said, "Full transparency, I did not know about this section of the big beautiful bill that strips states of the right to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. I'm adamantly opposed to this, and it is a violation of states' rights, and I would have voted no if I had known this was in there." A little bit of an odd admission there. Shouldn't even know this is in there.
So you didn't read it then.
She didn't, right? But then at the same time, these bills are fucking tens of thousands of pages long. They're forced upon most of Congress. You have to vote this in 5 seconds. And you here, they just give it to you. Like, there's no way that a human being or even a staff of people could read them in 5 minutes. We have no idea what AI will be capable of in the next 10 years. Giving it free reign and tying states' hands is potentially dangerous. This needs to be stripped out in the Senate. When the bill comes back to the House for approval after Senate changes, I will not vote for it with this in it. That's good. We should be reducing federal power and preserving state power. Here. Not the other way around, especially with rapidly developing AI that even experts warn they have no idea what they may even be capable of. It's crazy, right? Like the crazy lady from wherever she's from, I forget. It understands the dangers of this stuff better than anybody.
Well, just watch. I'm gonna watch it next weekend, The Terminator. I'm gonna rewatch all of it. I listen to Tim Pool a lot, even though he's fallen from graces, which is fine. But he always brings up the fact like what AI was able to do last year compared to what AI is able to do this year is 2 different entities.
Yes.
So forget like what AI could do in 10 years. In 10 years, the Terminator could be a real thing, right? Like, and like Tim Pool's pretty like, bent on the fact that like, we're not going to have streaming services anymore. We're not going to have, Hollywood anymore. You're just going to go to an AI content creator and be like, I want a comedy about 2 drunk dummies who made a political podcast and the antics they got into, and name the main characters, Chris and Mike. And then AI will create an 1.5 hour long movie and gather data from Palantir, on idiot podcasters like ourselves, and make a feature-length film. And that's what you'll watch. And then you could put that out. And if it's good, other people will watch it and you'll get notoriety for it or whatever. But like, there's not going to be like, at least there'll be more original thought. But like,
I don't know. I don't know though. But there might be some, you're going to give it the command. But everything it's going to give back to you is coming from a centralized singularity, right? Like that holds all the data of the world. So like, a god.
And who wields that, right? Because remember, Gemini was like, show me a picture of George Washington, and it was a black dude.
Right. Like it could create your reality for you in a sense. I literally just watched for the first time yesterday because I had to force my daughter to watch a different movie because she just watches the same ones over and over again. I watched WALL-E for the first time.
Yes.
What a great movie. And
you never seen it?
Never seen it. Right.
So do you understand the premise of it?
Completely understand the premise of it. it is like harmless, funny kind of, and paints all this in like a lightly, right? But in theory, in that movie,
We
in
destroyed the
WALL-E,
world.
we destroyed the world, and AI has created this very carefully, curated television screen world for the humans
Mhm.
to live in, where
Yeah,
they're like
on the cruise.
on the cruise and the space
Yeah.
cruise, and they're completely content. They all get fat and dumb and incompetent and useless,
Yeah.
and the AIs take care of them until the end of time. That is naive to think that that's how it's going to work out in real life. But that was pretty wise of a movie, right? Like it's an old movie, right? It's over 10 years old at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's tremendous power in AI. I don't think that centralizing who gets to, again, even coming from the libertarian, I don't like regulation. I don't think centralizing who gets to regulate it at the level of the federal government is a smart idea. If I can make one quick comparison to the COVID days, the states' rights decentralization of our country is one of the few things that saved a lot of people during COVID. While the federal government was being insane and tyrannical, and certain states were, you still had Florida, you still had Montana, you still had New Hampshire and other places in Tennessee that were like, well, we're not going to fucking do that here. We're going to fight back and we're going to do things our own way. And we're not going to follow. When it comes to AI, they are the Trump administration and the GOP are leading the charge at saying, no, there is no decentralization. It's the federal government who is going to make the rules.
No, I don't like this.
And if there ever has to be any sort of regulation or fighting back against AI, it's only the federal government who could do that. I don't see how anyone thinks that that's a good idea at all.
AI, I've been getting into
real quick. One last point again. At best, even if, like we said with the other point before, if Trump uses it for good, that's for 4 more years.
At best,
this lasts for 10 years. The monopoly the federal government has on this. In the next 10 years, you could have President AOC with this power, right? Or President Gavin Newsom. Now, on top of the Palantir thing, now none of the decentralized red states. Let's say President Gavin Newsom with uses Palantir and AI to unleash like a total surveillance state on America. Well, the red states can't do jack shit about it thanks to President Trump and the GOP.
Yeah, no. This I've been getting into AI because I do like the creative process of like, you think like, show me a purple tiger that's dancing with a hippo, and like you get like, or like what you did with our cartoon, making them come alive, like that I find very interesting. But the whole idea of AI, and like you constantly hear of like, oh, we found out that this AI rewrote itself to not be turned off. We found out that AI actually understands how to lie. It is terrifying. And we all need to watch the Terminator and understand what happens with Skynet and why the Terminator, why O'Connor comes back and the Terminator comes back to chase him, because O'Connor is coming back before Trump's out of office.
Correct.
Within the next 4 years, John O'Connor will be traveling back in time to stop us from, Skynet going online.
Great fucking movies. I remember as a kid watching them. I'm like, that's crazy. What a great concept. That'll never happen in real life. Yeah. And here we are now.
And now I just pray a 12-gauge shotgun will take out a robot.
Precipice of Skynet. Yeah. And the federal government saying, only we could control Skynet, by the way. Not anyone else.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I don't know. Yeah.
The CIA, Israel, and the GOP are going to control Skynet. Just the people I need to do that.
It's going to work out great, folks. Don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. Tune in to Money in the Bank next Saturday for some fun in the wake of the end of the world. Anything else, Cap, before we do tweets of the week? I got a couple. I
haven't looked at Twitter in eons, so let's go, pal.
I got a couple, so I want to share them just because they've been sitting here for a while, sad, as we haven't used them. My first one is from one of my favorite follows on Twitter, 9mm SMG. He said a couple weeks ago, or a couple days ago, he said, Dan Crenshaw is such an anomaly. Decorated Navy SEAL who lost his eye in combat, a Texan. He has all the makings of someone who would be loved by most of the right. He's so awful that every time he posts, someone asks if he lost his eye looking through a glory hole. Truly amazing. It's a great point, man. He has all, like, he has the whole, Never peek through a glory hole in Tel Aviv. Yeah. It's a great point, man.
Yeah, it is.
Crenshaw has all the make, and I used to like him too in his first couple of Rogan appearances. I'm like, this guy's cool, Navy SEAL, all this shit. Right, but my goodness, everyone has figured him out that he is.
But if you do use the stock app autopilot,
you follow him,
and he makes like a solid like 20+% return on every investment he makes. So
I'm sure he invested in Palantir at the right time.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I really got to get involved in that, man.
Next one comes from Brandy, who we met in person. She's nice. Ben the Emo and Cap's wife. Her name. Follow her. Her Twitter handle is Create Tricks. She says Ed Kemper's IQ is 145, but he also murdered, mutilated, and had sex with his victims' bodies, including his own mother. Ted Bundy had a 136 IQ. High IQ without empathy or moral grounding is not a virtue. Intelligence, when divorced from humanity, can be used to justify anything. I thought that was pretty wise and a really good point. I thought, ironically, that was on display throughout the COVID years better than ever.
Yeah.
You saw some of the people I thought were the smartest people I had ever met falling for and regurgitating the dumbest levels of propaganda throughout the entire thing. Like, just because you have a high IQ doesn't make you a smart person, ironically.
Yeah.
Okay. And my last tweet is one from today.
Is this the one from today?
Elon Musk, who's on our side now.
Yep.
Elon Musk says, I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Hear, hear. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. I am glad to see Elon Musk now, once he's out of the administration, is just telling the truth. Like,
I think it's just as simple as he had high hopes for what he could do. He entered the machine. He entered the arena. He peeked behind the curtain that me and you can't even peek behind.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, fuck. No, let's go to Mars, everybody.
Easier. More black pills, man. Look, I'm just going to point out this is the same shit Thomas Massey is saying, why he's opposing it. And the MAGA influencers, even Professor Giordano is shitting on Thomas Massey. He doesn't know how to, Trump. He doesn't know how government works. No, motherfucker, he knows exactly how government works. That's why he's opposed to this shit, right? And the rest of you, I don't know what you're doing. Why are you carrying water for this? Now, even Elon Musk now is just admitting the truth at this point, and he's saying exactly what Thomas Massey, Scagz and the Captain, and Dave Smith, etc., are saying. Stop fucking lying. I can't stand it. It's gross. It's what the Democrats and the shit lib NPCs do. It's like so unbecoming.
Burn it all down.
So unbecoming seeing like the MAGA base who's so good on so much stuff just like lie about this shit or pass blame. I see a lot of them are blaming Congress. Yeah, Congress should be blamed. There's so should Trump, who's touting this as an achievement.
Yeah,
right? And, come on. That one I don't understand the most. That's probably one of the things that irks me the most. Like, you're seeing people who were criticizing Thomas Massey for opposing this are now criticizing the GOP for the same reasons that we are, but they're not criticizing Trump, who is that's the problem. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't line up.
This is the biggest problem that I've always had with any of this, is that people like you and me like Dave Smith, like, we're looking for accountability. A lot of people out there are looking for accountability, just not on their team.
Tribalism, yeah.
Like,
I want to be part of
like the real ones are down to be like, no, Trump needs to be held accountable too. Whereas everybody's like, oh, we got to hold the Democrats accountable. Yeah, and the Republicans. No. We just got to hold the Democrats accountable. The Republicans are right. Yeah. What it comes down to.
And that comes with cost. There's social cost to like offending your in-group, in-group, out-group, right? And if this is like a really fun in-group you're part of and you wear the MAGA hat and all that shit, and now you're like, I got to criticize this? Well, I don't know. I'm part of this group. Maybe I've built a whole career. Maybe I built a whole career on this, right? Now, if I start talking out, I'm going to end up like the two do men with like no subscribers, not being able to monetize anything because I tell the truth and piss people off, right? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the way people are thinking.
Well, there's a great quote that we'll leave it on. I can't promise you will win, but I can promise you we'll all lose.
I like it. All right.
Yep.
Tune in
All right,
Saturday. Yeah. Money in the Bank, Captain. Adios.
Peace out, Doom Nation. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.